have to tell you about this weird conversation I had with my wife a few weeks ago. I was telling her, it's so funny how I can detect French people from very far. Like, their accent is crazy, but it's really noticeable. But when I listen to myself, I don't have an accent. And she looked at me like, what? Anyway, so disclaimer, you may notice a French accent in this presentation. I won't, but you may. Before I start justifying this provocative and rather arrogant talk, I'm going to ask all of you to please stand. It's time to relax and shake things off just before the break. I'd like to go through a short poll, and I'm going to cover 4 different options. And when you see the option that corresponds the most to your situation, I would ask you to sit. So if you work for a company that is co-located, as in everyone works from the same physical location, please sit. Well, that's not many people. That's, I don't know, like 30 people maybe. Now, if on the opposite, you work for a fully distributed company, that is, there are no offices and everyone is remote, please sit. All right. I saw maybe 4 folks. I saw a bunch of InVision employees, so maybe that's all of you. If everyone you work with is in the same time zone, even if you're in different offices or in remote locations, please sit. All right, that's another 5%, and about 90% of the room is still standing. If you have ever had a frustrating collaboration experience, a disjointed meeting, something time zones, please sit. All right, and about everyone is sitting now. As we saw in this poll, there are many shades of remoteness. In this talk, I would use the term remotes to refer to multi-sites environments or satellite workers. Oftentimes, having remotes on a team is seen as a source of friction. The team now has to make it work or be remote friendly. But let's look at it from the other side. What if co-located teams were compensating for existing problems? What if we had latent collaboration issues that became very visible when we added remotes into the mix? Well, what can we do about it? I can think of 3 options. Number 1, just give up on remotes. That's an option. A few years ago, a few companies did that. In 2014, for example, Reddit asked their employees from the Salt Lake City location, New York City, and full-time remotes to relocate to San Francisco or find different work arrangements, aka a different job. Option 2, drop the office, everyone goes remote. This works fantastic for some companies. Look at Buffer, look at InVision, and so on. And finally, option 3, take a remote-first approach to collaboration. And this is where we, as tech leaders, can make a difference for our companies. So obviously today, we're going to talk about option 1, how to get rid of your remotes. A joke. My name is Nassim Kammah. I work for a company that sends about 1 billion, that's a B, billion emails every day. You probably have a dozen of them in your inbox right now. But MailChimp is a lot more than emails. We are an online marketing platform, and we help small businesses grow. MailChimp is about 1,000 employees. We are based in Atlanta. We've been there for 18 years. We have offices across the river in Brooklyn, New York, in Oakland, California, and as of recently, in Vancouver, Canada. I am myself one of the 20 full-time remotes. I'm based in Denver, Colorado. and I've been a remote engineering manager for 5 years now. Today, I'm going to cover 3 topics that can cause friction with remotes. And by the way, I'm going to debunk that those are remote-related. And for each topic, we'll go through a situation, analyze it, try to identify what we should optimize for, and then I will share an approach to it. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I'll just share one way to do it. So without further ado, let's start with meetings, the biggest source of friction for remotes. So here is the situation. Mike, is the dude on the screen there, dialed into his team strategic meeting. It started out pretty well. He can hear everyone. He can see everyone. And there is even an agenda to the meeting. Wow, wild. But pretty fast, Mike finds himself tuning out. And by the end of the meeting, he's watching his team debate in real time on his laptop. I want to point out that it's a bummer for Mike, but it's probably a bigger bummer for everyone else in the room. You have this fantastic remote worker that was really hard to hire and to keep around, and yet we are not leveraging his expertise. So before we analyze this situation, we need to talk about the format of the meeting Mike dialed in. I'm going to ask you to please raise your hand if you heard of the term caucus or the caucus meeting. I had heard about it briefly with Iowa and politics and so on, but I never really put one and one together with regard to work until I read Chelsea Troy, I don't know if you can see the link, but Chelsea Troy's blog post on the topic of why remote meetings suck and what to do about it. This whole section heavily draws on our work, and I really, really encourage you to go read our blog. In any case, a caucus meeting is a meeting without any rules on who talks, in what order, and for how long. I don't know for you, but that's the majority of my meetings. Now, with this format of meeting comes the unwritten caucus rule. That is that the first person to utter something gets the floor. It's pretty easy to predict who is likely to get the floor based on their caucus score. So you would have a high caucus score if you tend to think as you speak, or if maybe you jump into conversations, or if you have pretty high influence in the room. On the other hand, you would have a low caucus score if you really tend to listen rather than preparing your next talking point. Or maybe sometimes you do not feel comfortable or welcomed to participate into the meeting. There is an amazing paper that was published in 1995 called On the Folly of Rewarding for A while hoping for B. While a caucus meeting rewards for folks who can jump in while we opt for participation. You see the disconnect? Well, that's great, but Nassim, what do the caucus has to do with meetings exactly? I'm glad you asked. Let's take a look at my view when I dial into some of the meetings. I can't see Quinn over there, and I can see half of Chris over here. That's great, but I don't know when I can jump into the conversation. I can see the body language. I don't have the cues. And so I have to step back. So what should we optimize for in our meetings? We want everyone to have a similar experience. We want everyone to have the same ability to read each other's body language. By seeing how people react on what you say, we can assess the impact of your message and tweak accordingly. So an approach to this is the one remote or remote rules. I used to love it. I still love it. The whole idea is that if one participant is going to be remote, then everyone should be dialing in remotely. It's great. It really levels up the playing field. But again, I don't know for you, but at MailChimp, finding a meeting room or a quiet space is a sport. So it doesn't really scale very well. A better compromise and a more scalable approach would be the video dialed-in room audio. So that's the same meeting I was in, but everybody is on their laptop using the video, and we use the room audio capabilities or someone's laptop. I can see everyone, read their reaction, they can see me, and yet we are just using one meeting room. Okay, cool technique, never heard of it, but why not? What about the caucus issue? Well, again, I'm glad you asked. That's when we introduce the role of the moderator. And the moderator gives people the opportunity to speak, to listen, by safeguarding their opportunities to speak. A moderator is going to make sure that no one is hijacking the conversation and always talking over other people and monopolizing the conversation. Every attendee should have the same experience. And that's what the moderator can do. It doesn't have to be a big deal or a big thing. It can be a team member. It can be a rotating responsibility. You just need one designated person to do it with clear responsibilities. Now, just as an aside, this applies to everyone. This is not remote specific. Yes, it's going to help the remote folks who have to deal with the lag and the AV issues and so on, but everyone in the room with a lower caucus score are going to benefit from this practice. So to summarize this part, a better approach to meetings is if you have remotes, one remote or remotes, or at least have everyone dialing in for the video using the room audio. That's easy to implement. And number two, try to have a moderator when possible. Try it out. I like to start part number two with an anecdote I heard from Cal Newport. He's the author of Deep Work, an amazing book. And it talks about the story at IBM in the 1980s, when IBM is trying to deploy their very first internal email system. At the time, emails did not exist, and people were communicating using memos back and forth. And they thought, okay, we're going to study how much communication is required for us to do our work, and we're going to provision our email server accordingly. And so they did that. Within a week of having the email system online, they burned down the $50 million mainframe. The actual work did not require more collaboration. The presence of the tool completely changed the collaboration habits. Slack did to emails what emails did to memos. It completely changed the way we work. Now, I love Slack. I assume all of you use Slack or HipChat or some sort of real-time messaging. But let's take a look at it. In case you wonder where this very fine art is coming from, I got really inspired by Julia Evans' work. Very simple, very powerful, and so I took a stab at it. So those are my drawings. And I got the idea from Jason Fried. He's the CEO of Basecamp. I think it's like the fourth time we mentioned Basecamp today. But anyway, he compares Slack rooms to conveyor belts. Once the conversation rolls by, it's too late. Now, there are two issues with conveyor belts. While the team in Atlanta is very busy working at 10 a.m., with time zones, it's only 7 a.m. in Oakland, and the team is very busy sleeping. Everyone is missing out on discussions, decisions, cat pictures. The morning routine consists of catching up on 3 hours of scroll back. Very fun. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, everyone is busy, one eye on the code, another eye on the conveyor belt, and constantly asking themselves, is this relevant to me? Should I say something? Are they going to be blocked if I don't say anything? Are they going to think I'm not working right now if I don't respond? We check Slack we check Slack throughout the day, and in between we get work done. Very fun. Steve McGuire, in Debugging the Development Process, argues that our role as leaders is to shield the development team from any work that interferes with progress. Now, I'm not saying we should dictate how people should use Slack, no. But if you want your team to have long, uninterrupted windows to do deep work, then you should set clear expectation around Slack availability. Our behaviors bounces off each other. It can be very difficult to zag when everyone zigs. So here's what we did. First of all, what do we want to optimize for? Well, we want to optimize for deep work and avoiding these issues with the time zone. This is an approach that we took with my team, and it's called the Slack Quiet Hours. And the idea is that every Tuesday and Thursday before noon Eastern Time, there are not going to be any conversation in our Slack room. It is safe to turn Slack off. People are encouraged to take the time for deep work or self-care or anything that requires their undivided attention, like sleeping. Just going to point out that this is not remote specific again. Downtime is a great thing for everyone. And so as a result, East Coast folks really have been enjoying the deep work on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They get to ship stuff. And on the West Coast, people don't have the FOMO on those days, the fear of missing out. I want to reiterate that this is an approach to do it. There are many other ways to do it, but the bottom line is the same. It's all about setting clear expectations. Don't let people assume the way to communicate. Set explicit expectations around Slack availability. Okay, so part 3, and the last part for today, maintaining common ground. So I had heard about this term, but didn't really quite make anything out of it until I read this fantastic blog post by Dan Slimon, an ex-coworker. I really encourage you to read this blog post on troubleshooting on distributed teams. It links to fascinating research paper on the notion of common ground. So let's talk about it. Conversation tomorrow in my Slack channel at work, in the engineering manager channel, may look like this. Perry is asking what was the biggest takeaway from the workshop. But what workshop is Perry talking about? Well, given the timing of our question, the day after the lead developer conference, and the fact that we had been talking about this conference and the workshop in Slack the week prior, Perry is talking about Lara's workshop on demystifying management. Perry can use an abbreviated form of communication and still be fairly confident that a message is going to be understood. Just as an aside, I just mentioned Lara's workshop, and all of you understood I was talking about Lara Hogan. Did the same, right? Ryan responds, the biceps model. Okay, so you can see from the 3 eyes emoji that a bunch of folks are wondering what the hell Ryan is talking about. Vanessa, who also attended the workshop, responded with same. And Vanessa understands that Ryan is not talking about the biceps model, but rather the model that Paloma Medina developed to explain folks' core needs. B for belonging, I for improvement, C for choice, and so on. Ryan and Vanessa have common ground. They both attended the workshop, but no one else in the engineering manager room does. Common ground is a set of pertinent mutual knowledge, mutual beliefs, and mutual assumptions that the team shares and allows them to operate effectively and fast. Common ground includes initial knowledge. Everyone in this room knows what a sprint or a stand-up is. and public events so far. All of you now know what Nassim Slack Quiet Hours experiments are. It can be very easy to lose common ground. It's not because you post a message on Slack that everyone is going to see it, or read it, or understand it, or internalize it. Besides, some folks, take vacation, and you can lose common ground as well. And above all, and this is why I'm bringing it up today, in-person conversation are not accessible to remote folks. And that's a source of our potential for losing common ground. So what do we want to optimize for? Pretty straightforward. We want to be maintaining common ground. An approach we've developed on my team is called the Slack changelog. And before I go into it, I need to establish common ground and talk about a Slack plugin that we use called the React-G channeler. The whole idea with this plugin is that whenever you react on a message with a specific pre-configured icon, emoji, that message is going to get copied to a specific channel. So in this case, whenever you add a little pin like this to a message, it's going to get copied to the changelog channel. Cool. Three-step process for the Slack changelog. Number one, identify common ground. Some questions you may ask yourself. Who else should know about this information? Would you share it with someone coming back from vacation? If it's the case, odds are you have common ground material there. Step number two, summarize and provide context. Why summarize? Well, in my team, we have some conversation going on in threads, sometimes 100 messages deep. So the idea is we summarize all of this nicely and post a new message, all contained into one nice message. Why the context? Picture coming back from vacation or paternity leave, like I'm about to do, I would appreciate additional context. So instead of saying the highlight of the workshop was the biceps model, you could be saying, what workshop are we talking about? What were the takeaways from it? What is the biceps model? Add some additional links. That carries a lot more power and is much easier to understand. So that was step two. We have a new message with context and a nice summary. And finally, step three, you add a little pin emoji. Et voilà. The Slack channeler is going to take your message and copy it into the Slack changelog channel that you've created. This experiment has been a game changer for catching up from PTO. We typically have between 100 and 200 messages in our Slack room on a day-to-day basis, and we have about 2 in the changelog channel. Now, I want to insist and be real here that maintaining common ground is everyone's responsibility. As leader, we have to model behaviors we want to see, and this one takes a lot of work, but it does pay off. Again, I want to highlight that this is not remote specific. We all take vacation. Sometimes we work from home. It also impacts us. We could lose common ground, and everyone would pay the price for it. So here is my call to action for today if you want to build happier and higher functioning teams. Number one, next time you attend a meeting with remotes, either go with a one remote, or at least encourage everyone to dial in using their laptop for the video and rely on the room audio. Think of that body language. It's critical for everyone. That's the only reason to do it. Number two, try to add a moderator in the next meeting and observe the changes of dynamic in the room and the contributions that you get. Number three, experiment with quiet hours and poll your team and see how they feel about it. Did it work for them? And finally, tonight or tomorrow, when you catch up on what you missed while attending this conference in your Slack rooms at work, try to assess what common ground material is in there. So today I covered 3 sources of friction: meetings, time zones, in-person conversation. But really, none of this was remote related. It impacts all of us, collocated or not. And 3 different approaches. The bottom line of that talk, and if I were to summarize it in one slide, is that remote-first practices benefit everyone. Thank you.